Good evening to you for teleSUR English. My name is Reagan Vignes in Caracas, Venezuela. Thank you for joining us right here on From the South. We start in the United States, where in the next few hours, results from the Iowa caucuses should give the first real indication of who might become the presidential candidates of the two main parties. Hillary Clinton has a small lead on the Democratic side, while Donald Trump is the top Republican. Bernie Sanders' campaign had volunteers going to homes of likely Democrat supporters for a last bit of canvassing. Latino voters make up just over 10% of the electorate in the United States. The Democrats have always been their favorite party, and so far Hillary Clinton has been their favorite candidate. But is this changing? teleSUR asked Latino voters outside Washington about their intentions.
Well, I'm going to be voting for Hillary Clinton. I think that Bernie Sanders has a lot of great ideas, but he can't prove a plan of how he's actually going to accomplish everything. And I think that she has more the experience and she has more concrete plans.
Sanders is a progressive person who looks out for the interests of working people. But I don't know him very well, so I can't give a well-developed opinion about him.
I will vote for Bernie Sanders because his campaign is more solid. On topics like taxation and on education too, he has good proposals.
And for more now on these very important caucuses, we go to our correspondent, Bianca Perez in Washington.
The first caucus of the 2016 presidential election will be held Monday night in the state of Iowa. The state of Iowa is always the first state to vote, which makes it one of the most important states, let's say, in the sense that it gives sort of a snapshot of who will be the favorite candidates from each party. To explain a little bit what a caucus is, essentially what happens is a gathering divided by parties, and people go either to somebody's house or to public spaces depending on how many people are getting together, and they vote on which candidate is their favorite. For the Republican side, this is cast as a secret ballot. For the Democratic side, it is a standing vote. So essentially you would stand when they call the name of your candidate, and this will begin to give delegates which will determine the percentage that each candidate is receiving, and in that sense, that is how the winner is essentially chosen. The winner will probably be announced 2 or 3 hours into the caucus, although sometimes caucuses can run for very long periods of time, so every caucus is different. We will see how long this one tonight will run, and we will of course keep you updated with all of the information as it is coming in. Bianca Perez, teleSUR, Washington, D.C.
The Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos is expected to ask the United States to provide $5 billion over 10 years to pay for peace when he meets Barack Obama later this week. Some have already dubbed it a second Plan Colombia. Let's go live now to Bogota and our correspondent, Natalia Margarita. Hi, Natalia, it's good to see you. Can you tell us, do we know as yet exactly what the president plans on using these funds for, and what are the reactions there on the ground?
Well, we do not have any official information on any sort of money that President Santos will be requesting to Obama, Reagan. But what we do know here is that next Thursday, President Santos' visit to Obama comes in the wake of the 15th anniversary of Plan Colombia, which was a military agreement, basically a military agreement subscribed between the United States and Colombia in 2000. Now we know also that President Santos has expressed his will to continue cooperation with the United States, but not any longer cooperation focused on the military issue, but more on peace building, as this country is currently facing these peace negotiations that are attempting to bring to an end more than 50 years of armed conflict. Now also our defense minister have said in an interview that during this visit of President Santos to Obama, they will be reviewing these last 15 years of cooperation and how they can extend this cooperation, but now in terms of peace construction. Some experts have been saying that mainly basically the President Santos will be seeking for strengthening, for instance, USAID cooperation in territories here in Colombia. basically with what has to do with this process of clearing landmines, with the reintegration of the FARC fighters when they lay down weapons. But none of this has been officially confirmed by the presidency here in Colombia. This is just information based off some interviews that close people to President Santos has been giving here in Colombia.
Thanks so much, Natalia. I really appreciate it. I know you'll continue covering this for us. Thanks again. In Argentina, an increase in the price of electricity has gone into effect, which is expected to have a major impact on household economies and businesses alike. The increases in the price will reach over 700% in some cases and are being implemented by the government of Argentina's new president, Mauricio Macri. Residents and business people are not very thrilled with the new price hikes.
It's going to affect all of us and the economy because prices are increasing, but incomes are not.
We still haven't done the calculations, but we know it's going to affect us quite a bit.
And of course, we turn now live to our correspondent Leo Pobletti in Buenos Aires for more on these price hikes. Hi Leo, it's good to see you. Do we know the motivation for the price hikes? How does this mark a shift from the policies of the former president? And how is this going to affect the average citizen?
Reagan, what we can tell you tonight is that millions, or a good part of the 40 million Argentines who live in this country, are very worried about this price hike. At best, it could be a price hike of 500%. At the very worst, it could mean that electricity prices will go up 900%. So anywhere between 500 and 900%. Now, why has the government decided to recalculate or reassess the utility price of electricity here in Argentina? Well, basically, what they're saying is that electricity prices have been frozen for well over a decade now, and that someone has to, or something has to be done in order to change this, because the service of electricity in Argentina does suffer a lot of power outages. The previous government said that this was because the electricity companies did not make the investments needed in order to improve the service. The new government says that the previous government didn't do enough in order to ensure that, so they've gone about changing the scenario here in terms of electricity prices, and it is $400 billion which the Argentine state during the last government used to pay out in subsidies in order to keep energy prices low in Argentina. The right-wing Macri government, as of today, has decided to lift these subsidies of $400 billion. And who will have to pay the tab? Who will have to pay the price for that, for those subsidies which are no longer given out by the government? Well, basically the people, the Argentine people, now have to pick up from where the government has left off and pay a very big, huge prices for their next for the next electricity bill. As we said before, anywhere between 500% to 900%, and electricity bills will start coming in once a month. They used to be bi-monthly, so the electricity bill used to come in once every second month. Now to give people a better chance to pay off their bills, supposedly the government has decided to issue these bills once a month with these huge increases in electricity prices, Reagan.
And of course, we'll continue covering this very important story. We'll touch base with you another time. Thanks, Leo. In other Argentinian news, Finance Minister Luis Caputo is in New York for meetings with creditors who are demanding that Argentina pay billions of dollars to the financial speculators known as vulture funds. The meeting is the first encounter between the pro-market Argentinian government of Mauricio Macri and representatives of the vulture funds. The encounter will last at least through the Tuesday, and according to the government, will hope to arrive at an agreement that will satisfy the speculators, ultimately providing Argentina with greater access to international financing. French President François Hollande has called for an end to the U.S. blockade of Cuba during a visit to his country by President Raúl Castro. It is Castro's first ever state visit to Europe. France has led the way in opening up relations with Cuba, and President Hollande was also the first Western president to visit Cuba in over 50 years. An unprecedented trial has started in Guatemala. It is the first time in the world that sexual slavery perpetrated during an armed conflict is prosecuted in the same country where it took place. 2 former military officers are accused of taking 15 Mayan women as slaves in the 1980s. The army had previously killed their husbands. The women were forced to work 12-hour shifts in which they also served as sex slaves. Dozens of Guatemalans held a Mayan ceremony on Sunday to remember 37 protesters killed in an assault on the Spanish embassy 36 years ago. A group of indigenous farmers and university students took over the embassy in 1980 to denounce repression by the army. The Guatemalan army had burned the building down, killing the 37 people. It's now 3 weeks until Bolivians vote in a referendum that could allow President Evo Morales to stand for another term. So far, the campaign has been low-key, but free TV adverts begin this week, and it's expected to pick up momentum. teleSUR's Dimitri O'Donnell is in La Paz.
With just 3 weeks left before Bolivians head to the polls to vote in the referendum, both sides are finally stepping up their campaigns. The yes side, supported by the government of Evo Morales and the country's social movements, say the no side are engaging in dirty tricks to smear the president. Bolivia's Interior Ministry says they expect this dirty war to only intensify in the weeks running up to the referendum. They also claim the no side is being supported by the US Embassy in Bolivia, something which the embassy has denied. The poll on February 21st will ask Bolivians whether a 2-term limit for presidents and vice presidents should be amended. The result will decide if Evo Morales can run for office again. It's obligatory for Bolivians to vote, and more than 6 million will head to the polls. No campaigners have raised doubts about the accuracy of the electoral poll and recently called for an audit of the entire process. Now, some of the more recent polls in the run-up to this election have given the yes side a lead, but no campaigners say they expect the result to be extremely tight and have promised to mount a serious challenge to the government of Evo Morales on February 21st.
St. Lucia is hoping to become a hub for culture and literary history. Last week, citizens gathered in large numbers for the grand unveiling of the childhood home of the island's 2 most celebrated literary brothers, Roderick Walcott and his Nobel Prize-winning brother, Derek. Alison Kentish reports from St. Lucia.
The project transformed the childhood home of Nobel laureate Derek Walcott into a museum and center for the arts. It is also expected to redefine a major area of the country's capital, Castries, and is part of a larger initiative to make St. Lucia a hub for the arts in the Caribbean. For students of Walcott's work in schools and universities across the globe, it is an opportunity to take a stroll into the childhood world of the celebrated author. The Nobel laureate was moved to tears at the ceremony.
The thanks I have can't be counted. I'm from here, this is where I belong. And so the other guys. I can't isolate names. I love everybody here, and I'm not in a generic, stupid way. I love them, you. I can't finish a goddamn sentence the way I love. Yeah.
St. Lucia's Prime Minister Dr. Kenny Anthony says the unveiling of the literary house is a proud day for St. Lucia and the wider Caribbean.
What is being unveiled today is the first step. It is reclamation. It is reclamation of the memories, the past, the poetry, the plays, the words, and the wax.
The Nobel laureate has long advocated for a home for the arts, a place where people can be educated on the rich cultural history and vibrant artistry in St. Lucia. Walcott went up the path to the door and cut the ribbon, opening the doors to the world of treasured history in literature, drama, and heritage. Alison Kentish, teleSUR, St. Lucia.
The World Health Organization has declared that the disease linked to the Zika virus is a global public health emergency. By declaring the mosquito-borne virus a public health emergency, this means more funds will be diverted to manage the spread. The Zika virus has been linked to thousands of babies being born with underdeveloped brains in Brazil.
Well, it would definitely galvanize international community, as it was a case for Ebola. This is the point when WHO is saying that there should be concentrated efforts by member states, by international partners, and by research and development community to look on different fronts, trying to find the solutions to the problem.
Myanmar enters a new era as lawmakers from Aung San Suu Kyi's party took their seats in the new parliament. In November's historic election, Suu Kyi's party won 80% of the contested seats. However, the military still retains control of key ministries. The new government must now work to rebuild the country's economy, which has been crushed by a generation of junta rule. Earlier this Monday, Syria's main opposition group met formally with United Nations Special Envoy Staffan de Mistura in Geneva for the first time. The Geneva peace talks are aimed at ending Syria's civil war. According to Syria's main opposition umbrella group, the meeting was a positive one. The group, known as the High Negotiations Committee, says it is waiting to hear the government's response to humanitarian issues. At least 10 people were killed in a suicide bomb attack against a police office in Kabul. The Taliban claimed responsibility. In a statement, the group said it had killed or wounded over 40 police officers. However, most of the dead were civilians. Israel has started construction of a security fence along its border with Jordan. According to the Defense Ministry, this is to keep out illegal migrants and militants. The barrier will be 19 miles long and will cost $75 million. The lawyer for a Palestinian journalist on a hunger strike has warned that his client is on the brink of death. Here is Noor Harazin with more.
The lawyer for a Palestinian journalist who entered his 69th day on hunger strike warned Sunday that he is on a brink of death. Attorney Jawad Boulos said that Mohammed Al-Qiq is unconscious, unable to speak or open his eyes while tied to bed, adding that he stopped taking vitamins and is suffering muscle pain and redness of eye. Meanwhile, the Journalists' Union in the Gaza Strip organized a sit-in protest in front of the Red Cross headquarters in western Gaza City Monday morning. Member of the union, Sharif al-Nairab, delivered a speech in which he held the Israeli government and the human rights organizations completely responsible for Al-Qiq's life.
We are here to support our comrade Mohammed Al-Qiq. Al-Qiq's cause has become the cause of all Palestinians. He is the first journalist on a hunger strike for more than 69 days. He is the first journalist who got arrested for incitement accusations. Mohammed Al-Qiq is dying. The Israeli government is held completely responsible for his life. Human rights organizations, the international and the Arab Journalist Federations are held responsible too.
In a related move, Hamas lawmakers in the besieged Gaza Strip visit Monday the Solidarity Tent, which was set up earlier today at the Ministry of Prisoners Affairs in Gaza City to support Al-Qiq. His supporters held a one-day hunger strike as one of many steps taken to support his cause. The Israeli occupation forces arrested the 33-year-old TV reporter from his home in the West Bank city of Ramallah last November. After 4 days, he began a hunger strike to protest being held in what Israel calls administrative detention. Israel accuses Al-Qiq for working with media associated with Hamas. Noor Harazin, teleSUR TV, Gaza.
Now to sports, where Pep Guardiola will take over as Manchester City's manager in July. The Spaniard has signed a 3-year contract to replace Chilean Manuel Pellegrini. Guardiola, who has won 14 titles with Barcelona during his 4-year coaching period with them, has turned down extending his contract with Bayern Munich. On January 29th, after 3 years of restoration, Cuba's Alicia Alonso Great Theatre was reopened to the public. The theatre was originally built in 1837, making it the oldest theatre still in use in the Americas. Both local and foreign visitors are now able to learn about the theatre's history through guided tours. For more on these and other stories, you can join us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, and of course to follow developing stories, you can join us on our website, telesurtv.net/English. For TeleSUR English, my name is Reagan. Have a great night.